Hello everyone. This video will be about the history of the Australian Touring Car Championship. The Australian Touring Car Championship began in 1960, where a single race was held which consisted of Appendix J touring cars. This category consisted of modified production-based sedans such as the Holden FE. These cars had to be enclosed with 4 seats and at least 100 production models had to be made for them to be eligible for this category. The bodywork and interior trim of the cars had to remain the same, but the engine and suspensions could be modified to improve racing performance. The first race of the category was held at Noblash Circuit in Orange, New South Wales. Due to the category's short time, the annual race was mainly held at small rural circuits, but in the final season in 1964, the race was held at Lakeside Raceway outside Brisbane, which was the first major city circuit the championship raced at. This category continued until the 1965 season, where a new category called Group C was introduced. In 1965, the Australian Touring Car Championship changed to Group C cars, which is not to be confused with the Group C used by the FIA in the World Endurance Championship from 1982 to 1992. In Australia, Group C classification referred to production-based four-seater cars such as the Ford Mustang and Falcon and the Holden Monaro, which are the most common, although other cars were competitive as well, such as the Porsche 911 and the Chevrolet Camaro. The series continued as a single race event until 1969, where it finally became a multi-event series. The series continued to expand to more circuits with places such as Bathurst and Sandown both holding races. The class was dominated by Ford and Holden, with the two manufacturers winning all seasons except 3, those being won by other manufacturers such as Chevrolet in 1971 and 1972 with the Camaro, and Mazda in 1983 with the less powerful but much lighter RX-7. This era of racing was considered the golden era by many for the Australian racing scene. However, as the category continued on, more and more teams were having parity issues, which led to the introduction of the Group A class in 1985. The 1985 season was the first with the new Group A regulations, which were very similar to those of Group C, with new manufacturers entering the sport, pushing the spotlight away from the two leading teams in Ford and Holden. In the early years of the category, other manufacturers such as BMW won the championship in 1985 and 1987 with the M3, as well as Volvo in 1986 with the 240T. This was then followed up by Nissan in 1990 to 1992, with the Skyline dominating those 3 seasons. However, in 1993, the regulations were changed to Group 3A, which only allowed Australian-produced 5-litre V8 powered cars and 2-litre cars to race in a separate class. This led to a 2-manufacturer competition, with the championship going back and forth between Ford and Holden with the Falcon and Commodore respectively. This continued until the end of the category in 1998, where the championship changed its name to the Supercars Championship. In 1998, the Australian Touring Car Championship changed its name to the Supercars Championship, or more commonly known as the V8 Supercars. The cars in the first few years following the rebranding were essentially the same, with only the Ford Falcon and Holden Commodore competing at this time. This would continue until 2003, where the Falcon and Commodore would become more evenly matched under what was called Project Blueprint. This project aimed to reduce the differences in performance between the two cars and changing suspension on the Holdens to the double wishbone front suspension and the Watts-Link rear end used by the Falcons at the time. The aero packages of the two cars were also tested and regulated to ensure similar performance. This led to the two cars being very evenly matched across the season. However, Ford still managed to win 6 of the next 9 years until the new generation cars were introduced. In 2012, the new generation of V8 supercars were introduced with the aim of cutting costs to $250,000 per car to allow other manufacturers to enter the sport. This resulted in Nissan with the Altima, Volvo with the S60, and Mercedes-Benz with the E63 entering this series at different times. Unfortunately, these cars and teams didn't manage to dislodge the Holden and Ford teams from winning year after year. These regulations lasted until 2017, where they were tweaked slightly to allow 2-door coupes with turbocharged 4 or 6-cylinder engines to compete. However, none of these teams elected to build a car to these alternative specifications. By this time, only Nissan remained as the only other manufacturer other than Ford and Holden, with Volvo and Mercedes-Benz teams changing back to either Ford or Holden. However, Nissan's partnership with Kelly Racing ended at the end of the 2019 season, with Kelly Racing returning to running the Ford Mustangs. Between 2020 to 2022, it was just the Ford Mustang and Holden ZB Commodore, with the Ford Falcon no longer being produced and sold in Australia. This leads us to the current regulations called the Gen 3 supercars, which are being led by the Ford Mustangs and Chevrolet Camaros, due to the Holden Commodore no longer being produced. This championship has long been a battle between Ford and Holden in Australia, with sometimes not providing the best technological development, but it has stuck true to its name by always being about V8 powered cars.